Hello there, my name's Richard from Silent Peak, and I've recently just switched over to Lightroom just at a time when everyone else wants to switch away from it. Now, I've been using AC/DC Ultimate for probably the last 7 or 8 years, and to be honest, I still to this day prefer editing my photos with AC/DC Ultimate. However, Lightroom has got perhaps one of the biggest advantage of any photo studio that I've tested in the cloud, the very thing that seems to put so many people off. Now, I have a photo collection spanning about 20 years, and tens of thousands of images, and they are all contained to a black box. Nobody can see them. You know, I see them when I log on and check, but otherwise I don't see them at all, and it is not easy for my wife and my family to see the images. And Lightroom makes it so much easier. Basically, I can whisk my images off to the cloud while maintaining my local copies, and then I can just simply share them. So if I want they want the grandparents to see the images of the kids, they can just go into their iOS app or even their favorite web browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and so on. And the photos are right there, and they can view them, they can copy them. If I give them the right permissions, they can do what I want. It just makes it easy. It's liberating. My photos are now liberated. They aren't just hidden inside my PC's case. Now, I have full reviews on Lightroom and many other products, and Lightroom isn't necessarily for you, but I would say at this point that it is certainly the best cloud-powered photo studio that I've tested, if that is something you're interested in. Now, with the whole cloud, it tends to have a bit of a fear factor. People are worried about what Adobe might do with the images, you know, whether they will lose them or simply exploit them for AI learning. Or maybe you'll find one of your videos, one of your pictures on sale one day and you won't know anything about it. These are all of the concerns people have about the clouds, and they may be warranted, they may be not. But in contrast, as a former commercial IT professional, I would say that there's certainly extremely tangible risks of having your images contained on local disk. For example, you can suffer malware, you can suffer local disk failure, accidental deletions, and so on. And if all of your images are backed up on the same site, you're now potentially at risk of site damaging factors such as floods and fires. And while these seem unlikely, they do happen, and people do lose all of their photos because they were all on the same place. Even backed up, they were still all in the same place. And using the cloud negates this. That being said, it hasn't been a purely smooth process. So when you get Lightroom and you're all subscribed, you go in and you don't actually have to use the cloud at all. You can just browse the images that you have on your local disk. It won't even move them, and they will be exactly where you left them. However, I wouldn't really recommend this as a use case for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that you've got the cloud and you're paying for it, so you should use it because you're paying for it. The other issue is a lot of Adobe Lightroom's functionality only works in the cloud, most notably recommended presets, the face recognition, and the automatic keyword tagging. So you can browse your local images, but you won't be able to implement these particular features on anything other than your cloud hosted images. So let's say that you've got over your cloud problem and you've decided its advantages outweigh its disadvantages. You begin your upload. Now, this isn't quite as smooth as you might think. I've learned a few things that I'd like to share with you here. So as an impatient Britishman living in New Zealand, I went to my files and tried to copy 10 years worth of images at once. So basically 10 images on local disk into the cloud, and I figured I could just leave my computer on and then go and have a cup of tea or whatever. It doesn't quite work like that. What happens is that Lightroom will basically take the image out of local storage, a copy, it leaves it intact, it's not taking anything, but then it creates a secondary copy on your machine. So now you have two versions of your local image on your local disk. And it wiped out my C drive. It basically, my C drive went from several hundred gigs of free space to zero, grinding my computer to halt and causing a few crashes. You know, your Windows drive needs a C drive capacity. It's how it moves information around. Didn't know what was going on at first. I had no idea whether it was Lightroom. I thought I'd been negligent. I thought I'd installed too many games off Steam. And that's exactly how I fixed it. I removed some of my Steam games, which I now have to re-download. But anyway, the moral of the story is that it will move your local images to its own sort of mid-term storage on your machine while the cloud upload persists. And then once it is uploaded to the cloud, those images can be deleted. So you don't forevermore have to have two sets of images on your machine. It's a temporary thing that could wipe out your C drive if you're not paying attention, or even if you just didn't know about this. The other slightly irritating thing is that, say you've got a folder 2012, and in that in that folder you've got trip to Paris, work photos, baby photos, and so on. You have to click on each folder. You can't just go to the topmost folder, import that, and then import the images from its subfolders. What will happen is it will just upload from the root any images that are in the sort of 2012 folder and ignore all the ones in the Paris folder. So you have to go through each single subfolder at the same time. This does seem perfectly avoidable. It seems like bad design to me. I have no idea why it can at least include an option to import from subfolders, but it doesn't, at least as far as I can find. So comment if I'm wrong about this. But yeah, so on the positives is once the images are in, the automatic keyword tagging automatically looks at what's in your photos. So if there's birds, there's buildings and so on, it will automatically see that. So you've effectively got a keyword tagged image collection pretty much straight away. Likewise, the face recognition. Now, of course, you've got to put the name in a few times for people, but really not very much. Once you've got the name on me, it will basically automatically tag almost every picture of me, and then there'll be some confusing ones when I'm wearing sunglasses or a cap and so on, and it will ask, and then it will then ask whether this person here is the same as the original me, and it is, and then it will fold all those photos in as well. It really is the best implementation of face recognition I've used. The second best is AC/DC, but this is the best, but of course it is reliant on cloud power, whereas AC/DC's is not. When it comes to the overall interface of Lightroom, I actually don't like it that much. Some of it is very good. The fact that I can't display everything in one iShot is frustrating. So if you want to view your sort of metadata, you know, your EXIF data, you've got to bounce to a tab for that. It can't be on the same side as the keywords. So you know, you can view one or the other. There's no map view in the Lightroom CC, what formerly known as CC. I believe there's one in Classic, but you can't basically, you can geotag your images by entering coordinates, but you'll have to get those coordinates from a third-party app like, you know, Google Earth, Google Maps. The editing, again, very constrained. It's extremely good at what it does. The problem that you'll see with Lightroom, though, is generally nothing to do with Lightroom but the existence of Photoshop. You see, Photoshop keeps Lightroom humble. Lightroom will never have an extensive feature set like on One Photo Raw because it's likely to tread on the shoes of Photoshop, which is admittedly a brilliant application. Nor can you sort of move things around. We can't sort of reassign our tool sets. We can't make favorite lists. But overall, it's a good product. The photo management is why I'm doing it, though. If I was looking for a pure photo editor, I was happier with AC/DC. I certainly would be happier with many alternatives, DxO Photolab being one of my favourite. It's just a shame that Photolab's photo management is barely existent at all. But really, Lightroom's cloud-powered photo management, that ability to share your images, to disperse them to friends and family, to sort of liberate your photo collection from that sort of big, black, ugly PC box, That's why I'm doing it. That and the added security of having both local files in one place and an off-site cloud-based backup somewhere else. That is not a downside, trust me. I used to work in enterprise IT. I've had to deal with widespread IT failures and data loss. It does happen even on supremely higher budgets than what you're spending. Even if you're using a NAS, you might have RAID, you might have backups, but one lot of fire and decades of memories could be gone. That is why I tried Lightroom. It ain't perfect, but for this, it's nearly perfect. And as it turns out, the photo editing is probably good enough, but I'm also happy that I have plenty of other photo editing applications for when I need them. Anyway, this is sort of a different video for me. It's kind of loose. There is no script, as you could probably tell. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Sometimes I use scripts because I have so much information to convey, certainly about a product review. I don't want to miss anything. But some people do complain about the sort of scripted, monotone aspect of it, and I think that comes from reading a script. But anyway, if you like this sort of free-roaming thing, let me know. Leave me a comment. I always want you guys' feedbacks. You're the reason I'm doing this, so please let me know. Do like, subscribe. I've dropped a Lightroom trial in the description below. You can try that for free for 14 days, but if you don't opt out, you will be charged and locked into that contract. So just be careful right there. But if you are at least organized, it is very easy to end the trial. You don't have to jump through many hoops. But yeah, do it within the 14 days. Anyway, hope that was useful. If you want to know more about Lightroom or any other photo editing application, do drop by Silent Peak. Here I have best of videos, I have the latest prices, I have promo codes if you want to save a few dime. Like, comment, share, you guys know the drill. And if you leave me a super thanks, I'll promise to put it towards my next subscription fee for Lightroom. Anyway, hope you found this useful. My name's Richard from Silent Peak. Have a great day. Bye-bye.